Hey folks, I'm back after a little bit of a break and I'm going to be sharing some updates with you today. In fact, I'm going to be delving into my backstory about how I've created my current lifestyle. So definitely going to be sharing some details never before shared, so you don't want to miss it. So if you're new here, let me welcome you. My idea was to create this space as a place to come for motivation and inspiration. As a registered dietitian and a health coach, I've helped hundreds of clients establish those really important health habits. Because once you get that foundation built of getting your health habits into place, you can finally put your attention on those bigger life goals. So today I'm going to be sharing my backstory of how I've created the life goals of personal freedom, career satisfaction, and a flexible, low-stress lifestyle. So this is something that I've achieved for myself, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how it all came into place. And if you're a dietitian like me and you're looking for those career satisfaction, flexible lifestyle goals, definitely check out the links in the video description where I talk a little bit more about how I'm working with others right now. So I guess we could say it all started about 7 years ago. I was working in a job that I thought was my ideal perfect job at the time. I was a corporate wellness dietitian working in a Fortune 500 company in North Carolina, and I was working with clients one-on-one. I was doing group programs, weight loss challenges, meditation groups. It just seemed like it had everything that I wanted. Even had a little bit of travel thrown in for variety. But over time, I was feeling like there was something missing. And I think a lot of people can relate to this. It wasn't just the commute. It wasn't just the hours spent in the office where I maybe wasn't even doing anything. It just felt like wasted time. Or I'd be working on projects and getting something ready to go, and then it would get denied by upper levels of management. So I spent all this time working on something and never got to see it come to fruition. So I felt like there was this theme of wasted time and wasted effort, and that I could see things going a little bit more efficiently if I had control. But I didn't. I was just an employee. So over time, these things started to bother me, and especially the aspect of not really being able to earn the income that I thought I deserved. Maybe I would get lucky in a year and get a raise, and maybe that was an extra $20 or $30 in my paycheck every week, but I didn't feel like I was working to my potential and that I could do something more impactful. And then if you throw that commute in there, it's a lot more time wasted in the car. I just felt like the job was great, it was solid, it had benefits, but there was just a lot that could be improved upon. So I decided that I wanted to pursue a new direction. I was definitely curious about self-employment. And I didn't just quit my job. I'm definitely not that rash or irresponsible, but I started doing the research. I started talking to other people in my field, other dietitians in private practice, trying to figure out how viable that was as a solution. And the more research I did, the more excited I got because it seemed like, hey, this is something that could really work for me. I just have to put all these items into place. And it definitely was intriguing, the opportunity that dietitians have that a lot of other health professions don't have, that you can actually contract with insurance companies to get paid. I started the process. I started taking the steps and got it going. And it happened eventually. I ended up going down to part-time in my job. I think I stayed maybe 3 or 4 months before I finally quit. And I had to make that decision. I had to cut the cord in order to put all of my time and effort into building my business. And at first, there was definitely a little bit of an income hit. Nothing I couldn't manage for a little while, but once I started doing regular networking and marketing events, I started to see the clients coming in. And that's when I knew that my business was really viable. In fact, I spent a lot of time developing my website, working on programs, doing a lot of things that weren't working face-to-face with clients, but eventually it all built up into a pretty sustainable business. The best part was that I actually noticed how much extra time I had. I had time that I could portion away to my hobbies and interests, and even those ended up taking off into a second business. A lot of things that I put on hold in life, like getting a puppy, were things where I was finally able to realize when I was working for myself. So Vigo is my daily companion, and we wouldn't have gotten him if I was working full-time and he had to stay in a crate all day. I just wouldn't have consented to that. But getting a dog was definitely a big bonus in life, and as well as being available to the kids when they were visiting us in the summertime. It was terrible when they had to stay home alone. Just really wasn't great for them. But after switching to self-employment, I definitely had the flexibility in my schedule. If I wasn't at the office all day, I could take him to the park. We could do fun things together. I could just be home and be around. And even if I had to take off to the office for a few appointments that day, it wasn't the entire day being gone. It was a big difference in the quality of life for the kids. The interesting part is that I mentioned one of my hobbies I got into at the time actually was beekeeping. And I was really into it at the time. And it actually flourished into its own business. I ended up taking the honeycomb design itself and constructing that into a jewelry form. And I started doing art shows and craft shows on the weekends, and it was so much fun. Like, I just felt like I was living my best life, because it was one of those hobbies that I always wanted to do, was to be an artist and to do those kinds of things. So it gave me the opportunity to explore some other areas of my life that a lot of people have to wait till retirement to do because they just don't have the time. So in a way, I felt like self-employment, I was living my best professional life. You know, I had this secret career that I feel like a lot of other dietitians didn't really know about as an option, or they just really didn't know how to make it happen. But I was, seeing clients one-to-one, billing insurance. I was teaching group classes. I was going to businesses doing talks, lunch and learns, and getting paid. I was partnering with a pharmacy. We taught diabetes classes together. They sent me clients afterwards. And I even ended up blogging and generating revenue from that. And I even wrote a book at the end of my first year called Nutritionist in Private Practice. It is lessons learned from my first year in business. I published it on Amazon, and it still makes sales to this day. So this is like passive income for me now. And so I just generated all these different ways to make side income in addition to private practice. After getting some experience, I ended up consulting other dietitians in their nutrition business as well. It's not just all the career satisfaction that's the icing on the cake. Really the flexibility is what it comes down to. In fact, being able to be self-employed and having a variety of ways to make income happen actually enabled me and my husband to make one of our biggest dreams come true. And that was to move out to Colorado from the East Coast, from North Carolina, all the way out to Colorado to build our dream home in the mountains. And it took us several years to kind of get our plan into place, but I had to leave my in-person private practice behind, but I was able to take everything else with me. The revenue from my book, my jewelry business, and some of the consulting as well. Being really flexible and having that flexibility, it was critical. In fact, I took 2 years off completely from nutrition, from being a dietitian. I just did the art show circuit. I did art and craft shows every weekend for 2 years. And that's a lot of work, trust me. But that was really fun for me. I needed that break in my career. I call it my creative sabbatical. It was definitely fulfilling in a different way. And it definitely made me appreciate being a dietitian and the opportunities that I had with being a dietitian. In fact, when we were building our house, I had started another hobby, which was a YouTube channel on documenting our house build. And that ended up generating revenue in itself. So I guess I have a little knack for generating different streams of revenue. After our home was settled and after we kind of moved in and everything was calmed down, I was able to get back to nutrition counseling. In fact, I worked for another company for a little while, about a year and a half, doing virtual nutrition counseling online. And so that was fun until I realized I probably could be doing this on my own. And in fact, the pandemic got me to realize that telehealth was a viable option to be able to do private practice again. The act of starting over can be invigorating to a point, and I realized I wanted to leave the jewelry business as a hobby. It's a lot of work to set up and take down a booth and pack up all your inventory weekend after weekend, day after day. I realized as a dietitian, one of the benefits that I had was it's pretty easy to do your own business from home and really not very much overhead and very efficient, very time efficient, especially when you're working from home and you don't have to drive to the office. It's the perfect opportunity for a dietitian or other health professionals that are able to contract with insurance companies, because you have that ability to do the telehealth without the overhead, and you definitely don't have to load and unload boxes. So this brings me up to current day. My latest business direction, in addition to seeing one-to-one clients from telehealth, is actually helping other dietitians get started in their private practice. So I'm launching a course on July 19th called Part-Time Practice, Full-Time Life. It's designed to help dietitians gradually and confidently build up a private practice with a telehealth and insurance-based focus in order to have more freedom, more personal freedom, and career satisfaction like I've enjoyed. And I can't say enough about self-employment with private practice. I really have the most control over my time. I have the most control over my income, even though I choose to work part-time. I feel like it's the best of both worlds, but people can really take it full-time if they want to. It's definitely up to the individual, but the best part is that you get to make the decision. If you want to work more, you can. If you want to work less, that's in your control. I've been able to follow my heart to do what I've been most interested in, even if that's taking a deviation into making jewelry or starting a YouTube channel. I've definitely been able to do all of those things because of my self-employment. But always I'm going to be a dietitian at heart. I'm always going to enjoy counseling clients. this added direction of helping other dietitians, it's definitely more fulfilling for me. I would love to hear from you if you've ever considered self-employment as a solution to having more time. What would you do if you had 20 extra hours in your week? How would you spend it? So leave me a comment below. How would you spend that time? And if you happen to be a dietitian who's curious about private practice, I'd love to hear from you as well. And let's figure out if private practice is right for you. It's not right for everybody, so you definitely have to go through a list of questions to figure out if that's the right move for you. And if you want to go through that process, you can book a free discovery call with me using one of the links below in the video description. Maybe it turns out you're a great match for my training program. So that's where my story ends for now, folks, but we're not at the final chapter. We're definitely keeping open to the next adventure. So here's to personal and career freedom.